Yeah, the crawler wild's always bringing me home. Crawler wild's always bringing me home. Crawler wild's always bringing me home.
Hello, wild ones. Welcome to another episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. I'm so excited to have Jenny here of Galapagos Shark Diving. How are you doing today, Jenny?
Very well. Thank you, Brianna.
Yeah, no problem. I'm so excited that you're here and that we can chat. Your background is beautiful too. It looks like a gorgeous day.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm home in Costa Rica at the moment, so can't complain about the weather, I have to say.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I'm in New York, so it's like a crisp day, but it's like kind of nice. So, um yeah, it's great. But yeah, I'm so excited to get into your story and like what you do. So, you run a shark diving tourism thing off of the Galapagos Islands, right? The shark diving.
That's correct. So yeah, we're doing citizen science trips. So we take divers out to, one of the most incredible dive places on Earth, where you can dive with sharks, with rays, with dolphins. But at the same time, when we as divers go down, we can do so much good for the oceans. And so we started in 2017 to offer trips where we have a shark scientist on board who talks a little bit about the research sides, but closes the gap between research and conservationist, because I'm as a diver, if I'm making a photo or counting animals, I can do so much research and helping for conservation. And that was the idea to offer trips like this, because there's so many people out there that want to do something good while they're diving. And so it was important to offer it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's
Yeah,
like, for lack of a better phrase, killing two birds with one stone. You're down there, you're
yes,
enjoying the environment, but at the same time you can, count what you see. So it's really
yeah,
nice that just something as simple as, diving and enjoying
yeah.
the animals around you, that you could do something to help in just the slightest way.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it's so important for us. I mean, I'm myself did not study marine biology, so I always thought I can't help as much until I, investigated a little bit more. And there's so much that we can do. And yeah, I mean, I only can encourage people to do things like this and to look around and to get involved, because we need
Yeah.
the oceans, right? I mean, the ocean is producing 50 to 80% of our oxygen, so that's our base to live, to breathe. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really important to know the intricate importance of the ocean and what
Mhm.
lives there, and how each one of the animals and beings that live in the ocean contribute to making a healthy ocean. They all have their own niche to help make
Yeah.
everything a stable ocean. And when people do go in on these dives and like count what they see,
Mhm.
like how does that help, like for researchers and things?
I mean, there are different projects that you can do. So when we specialize now for the Galapagos, you have, for example, photo identification programs. So you can identify whale sharks, giant manta rays, molars. And you can identify each individual. And by basically taking their fingerprint, I would compare it with a human, you basically can follow this animal. So as more citizen scientists, I will call them, divers that are uploading, or swimmers to whale sharks and manta rays, upload those ID photos, as more we can track an animal. Because what many people don't know is we don't know migration route of whale sharks. We don't know really migration routes of giant manta rays, of molars, of so many fish that is more in the open ocean. We just don't know where they're going. And how can you protect a species like a manta ray or a whale shark or sharks in general if you don't know where they're going, when you don't know where they're giving birth, where they mate? So in order to protect a species, we first have to find out where are the key areas where you have to protect them. And it's always easy to say we want to protect them, but who is, giving the information to the government? Because if you're protecting an area, it also means there's no income from fisheries, like, taxes and so on. So the government needs to have a reason to protect a place. And in order to
Course.
have that, I can deliver a photo of a whale shark or a manta ray, and suddenly we can track. So researchers then suddenly can make an idea, where do they go? Where are maybe the areas where they give birth? And that then leads to protections, like in the Galapagos. So in 2021, we finally managed with different groups of scientists to have as many facts together to prove that it is important to extend the marine reserve. It didn't get extended as much as we wanted to, but it was the right step. So we got a little bit more protection for those animals. And that is where also citizen scientists like photos, like counting coming in. So we also have counting projects where you're counting different species of shark, different species of molar, sunfish, different species of rays, dolphins, etc., to get an idea how do they migrate between the different islands to different months? Because we still don't know where, like, hammerheads are critically endangered. So a few more years, decades, and they disappear from the earth. They have no recovery anymore. And in order to get a little bit more insight of their habitat use, gives us more facts for the government then to protect it. And
Right.
so I'm, as a diver, as a scientist or a citizen scientist, I can deliver those facts and then hopefully can help protection from those animals.
Yeah, that's one that's so cool because it's a great way for people that want to get involved that I feel like ever since they were younger it's always hard to find something to get
Hmm.
involved or want to do that, or maybe if like you didn't go into the field of marine biology like you said, you can
Yeah,
still have a way to help and access. And I think that's the cool thing about the time that we live in now is like even with YouTube and all of these, oops, sorry,
yeah,
that was my dog.
that
Even
was,
with YouTube and all these things that
yeah,
that we have like a space for more people to get into this field and to be like excited about, like, because people want to be more hands-on, right? Or like they
yeah,
want to be able to see that or adventure. But then on the other side of it, just collecting that data, it's hard for a couple of people to be able to do that. So especially if those people are out there and you can collect like a little bit from everybody,
yeah,
because everybody's going to see something you know different,
different.
or
Yeah,
depending on the dive, or I'm
yeah,
sure what time of year, then you have all of this information. And I'm sure like with science or citizen science, you need that data and
yeah.
loads of different pictures and everything, so it's really
And yeah,
awesome.
as more people they doing that, as more information we get, because I always say, like, we doing research on whale sharks in the Galapagos with the Galapagos Whale Shark Project, but we have a 2 week trip once a year. So that is 2 weeks out of 52 weeks where we're collecting data, where we're getting IDs, photo IDs, etc. But what is happening in the other 50 weeks? We don't get data
Right.
from it if we do not have the divers that are helping us. So we now have also a lot of dive masters that are participating, but still not enough. And that's just one area. So we need obviously more and more divers that know about it and upload the pictures to then get information about, in Socorro or in the other oceans to see where the whale sharks are going. And yeah, I mean, I find it always funny when people come to me and say, I do want to do something, but I don't know what. And I always have to think about my grandma told me that when I was little, I really wanted to be a doctor for animals, but I never went in this direction. But, I think the motivation was to help animals, and we can do it even if we didn't study, doctor or, marine biology. I think there's so many projects around where we can do something good. I have a diver that traveled with us several times, and he said at the beginning, I didn't really understand what you mean with it, but because I don't live, close to the ocean, I live in the middle of the US. There is no ocean even close, and I really want to do something in the water. And then he found a river and a lake that is close by. And he's now working with a project that is, monitoring the fish population within the river and sees what they can do to support that to, get the population up again. And he said, I now understand. It's not that I have to study it or that I, have to do this. It's just, people that are needed and, the willingness to help. And I think that is what everyone can do.
Yeah, that's so incredible and powerful too, because everything is so interconnected,
Mhm.
especially with nature and the environment. So I feel like that's always the best like way to start is, like your friend, the diver that came on one of your trips, that if even if you don't have like an ocean, say something that's really pulling to you, it's
Mhm.
always great to start like closer to home because everything is so interconnected. by you doing something that's even closer to home, you're effectively eventually going to, help in a good way towards the oceans, or because
Mm.
everything helps each other, everything is
Yeah.
so connected. So that's such a beautiful way of putting it. There's so many options for people that want to get involved. And like you said, like we're all here too for, we live here, right? As together
Yeah.
as a species. So, we're all in this together, and for people to find an interest or like their own way into helping is really great.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. How did you first get started in like diving and your love of the ocean?
Well, I started actually diving when I mean, I booked a holiday in Australia, and I heard so many good things about the reef, the Great Barrier Reef, and I wanted to dive it. So I did a dive course in Germany. And I did not particularly really liked it because diving in Germany is it's quite dark and it's quite cold. And as a
Yeah.
new diver, you're not very good in your buoyancy. So I wasn't really sure if I like it. And then I jumped in the ocean in Australia and thought, oh my God, I love it. And on this holiday, actually, I saw my first shark. So we had a night dive. The last thing I turned around was a shark who was as scared as I was in this moment and obviously turned around. But there was my curiosity awake for sharks, the species that we can see. And so I started reading and started getting involved in different projects because, as I said, most of the research projects do not necessarily need someone that is good in science, but good in social media, good in helping maybe doing a web page or other things. So when I traveled to the Galapagos, I was very fortunate enough that I was on board with a group of donors that donated to the Galapagos Whale Shark Project. And so the scientists gave a presentation on board. So I got to know about the project. And I couldn't believe that we do not know anything about such a huge animal in the ocean and realize that it's not only the whale sharks, there's so many things that we don't know about the oceans. Basically, about 70% of our ocean, of our planet, right, is
Yeah.
the ocean, and we don't know anything about it. And so, yeah, I got involved with that and then came back more often to Galapagos. And yeah, the ocean is just a place where it's totally different. You suddenly in an observer role, so it's not like on land where everything turns around yourself. You go down and then you're just observing. You're watching the animals. You're watching the behavior. It suddenly gets, I wouldn't say quiet because there's still noise underwater, but it's getting more
Yeah.
focused on other things and yeah, watching, and it's a different world. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool because especially when you go down, like you have to gear up and like you have
Hmm.
to prepare for going down there. But it really is, it's like, the equivalent of going into outer space, but much more easily accessible to us. We
Yeah,
don't have to go up in a rocket ship. We could just go out on a boat.
that's
So
true.
which is
Yeah.
really cool.
You're diving
Um,
yourself?
uh, no, I only
Snorkeling?
dove once, but I do have a trip planned actually in May to go with I don't know if you heard of the Ocean Gals, but they have a trip in
Okay.
Baja California Sur, Mexico, where they take people out free diving. So I'm
Nice.
going out with them, and that's kind of like my first like, free diving
Yeah.
experience. But
Oh, that's
yeah,
beautiful.
the other one was at an aquarium years ago.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
it's just yeah,
yeah,
it's a different world.
it was cool to be able to go underwater, but I think I would have felt much more comfortable actually in like the ocean as opposed to like this tank, because it was like a shark diving tank, and to go under the
Hmm.
water, and it made me like a little claustrophobic because I
Yeah,
was like in this cage. So I think I would have been more comfortable in an open ocean. But
yeah, it's
yeah,
different. Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
think similar like my experience with Germany and the ocean. It's
exactly.
kind of yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I totally
Um
understand.
yeah, so I mean I love swimming, but so I'm excited for it and to hopefully see all the cool animals that migrate there, which
Hmm.
also whale sharks go to Baja California Sur. But
Yeah.
yeah. So what kind of, so we know that we see whale sharks,
Hmm.
hammerheads. what are some of the other animals that you could see in the Galapagos? Because it's
Oh,
a big
yeah.
array, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, I always say, I think when you're going diving in the Galapagos, you're having kind of 4 different dive holidays in one because you have to a
Mm,
certain time of the year, so between June and October, you have different currents coming into the island. So colder current from the south and from the west,
mm,
mixing with the warm Panama current, and suddenly there's an explosion of life. So you have in the upper part where it's a little bit warmer, you have the whale sharks, the hammerheads, Galapagos sharks, silky sharks, dolphins, rays, sea lions, basically all the big stuff that you want to see,
yeah.
and obviously the small stuff. So if you would, turn away to not look at the hammerheads and the whale sharks and all the other things, you would look into the reef, you would see suddenly a lot of corals and all the life in the corals, all the tropical fish, all the little crabs, everything. So often we don't take the time because obviously when divers come to the Galapagos, they want to see the big stuff, but
Right.
there's both there. And then when you're going down to the western side of Isabella, where you have kind of more cold water fish and also more, soft corals, so the whole underwater landscape is changing. But there you have the famous marine iguana, which is the only true marine lizard in the world, which you
Wow.
can see feeding underwater. So they go down and feeding on the algae. You have the Pacific sunfish, so the mola that you can see there, and that's the biggest bonefish in the world. I mean, this fish is just so bizarre, but at the same time, incredibly beautiful. I mean, if you get the luck to see them, it's just incredible. Then
Wow.
you have what else you have? You have obviously the flightless cormorant, which is quite fun when you're underwater and you suddenly see a bird next to you diving. It's kind of weird.
Wow.
So they're fishing underwater and they're quite fast. It's quite incredible. So
Yeah.
we have different ray species, eagle rays, golden rays, stingrays. We have green sea turtles, which are endangered worldwide, but in the Galapagos, luckily, we see still a lot. We have what else? White-tip sharks. In the Galapagos, I think it's around 34 species of different sharks that were identified. Not all
Wow.
of them, obviously, you see regularly, but you see
Mhm.
a lot of sharks. And I don't know, for me, it's when I'm underwater in the Galapagos, it's to see that we still have places where you have this number of animals is kind of nice to see because if everywhere would be looking like Galapagos, would have a whole healthy ocean. Um,
Right.
it's not only the variety of species you can see because I think you can see everything. I mean, from shark or dolphins to whales. So in the colder season, whales are coming in. So I often encounters with pilot whales, with orcas, with humpbacks. We
Wow.
even saw fin whales in the Galapagos, which is quite unique in blue whales. So I think you can see everything. Um, but yeah, as I said, the sheer number is just, I mean, Hammerhead School of, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 animals in one school just passing by is just, yeah. I mean, last year, for example, there was, I think, one of the best years I ever had in terms of hammerhead encounters because they were just streaming. The school didn't stop. It's just constantly. And we sometimes had the luck when we were swimming out that usually they're very shy. So as soon as they see a diver coming, they're gone.
Mm.
But we had a couple of encounters where they didn't bother that much and just stayed around and just cruised along and to be in the middle of such a school where you feel that the animal is not bothered by you at all is just such a beautiful feeling. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it sounds like it's just so full, right? So full
it
of
is.
life and experience and like, the niches that each of those animals provide. Everything is so full and healthy over there, which is
Yeah,
amazing. I would love bucket list to be able to experience those things too. But it sounds so beautiful, and as someone that is obviously an ocean lover like yourself, I can imagine how incredible it is to be able to experience those things when you dive. And
it
how
is.
important it is to, obviously, like you were talking about before, pick out and notice, everything that you're encountering while you're diving because they're all interconnected. So to be
Yeah,
able to, you know, encounter those things and write them down and to take pictures of them so that way
Yeah,
it's easier to protect that space is so important because like you said there's not that many spaces like that unfortunately anymore, so
yeah,
hopefully we can, I'm always positive, hopefully we
yeah,
can get them because I feel like more people are more aware of how important our oceans are, and to hopefully try to like change people's minds about how truly connected we all are and how much we really need this space.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
What are
agree.
like, because you said that obviously there's so many different shark species,
Hmm.
and what's always really curious, like you just said, is the hammerhead usually kind of swims off. What's like the biggest misconceptions that people get about sharks, or do you get any like funny questions about shark diving when you have people interested?
Um, I mean, in general, I mean, when we would look at whale sharks, then often it's obviously the misconception about if it's a whale, a mammal, or if it's a shark.
Right,
Because there we often have, discussions about if, the whale shark needs to go up to the surface to breathe, but obviously they don't because they're sharks, so they don't need to breathe, or they breathe, but differently via the gills.
right.
Um, that is one, but in general with sharks, I think it's always more the topic about, the misconception, what movies bring you about the blood. So
Right.
if it's, human blood, or women often ask me, obviously, when they are in their period time, and sharks couldn't bother less about human blood.
Yeah.
So they are not at all interested in us. So I mean, how often I did cut myself, especially when we're working underwater in the research project, they couldn't care less. Different is it when you a fisherman. So if you taking a fish apart, that is obviously what most of the sharks eat. So if you have suddenly fish blood on you, then you're getting interested for them. So that is something different. So for fishermen or people that spear fishing, there's
Right.
obviously something different. But human blood, for example, they couldn't care less. And you see the change in behavior. So I mean, obviously, when we're going out with the normal trips, we don't do that. But if we, for example, in our research trip, taking blood from whale sharks, it is fish blood, and you have the blood in your hand because we don't finish the dive immediately, um, you see the behavior change of sharks. So you see how they're suddenly going into hunting mode if that would be around. So it's you see a completely different behavior. Yeah, you could cut yourself multiple times underwater. The shark would not even notice you.
Right.
So yeah,
It's
I think
used
that's
to
the
a
main.
different, that makes
Yeah,
so much sense because it's right. People have this misconception that, oh my God, like I cut myself, they're gonna come right over, but
exactly.
that's not what they're environmentally, like what their niche is bred for. They're
Yeah,
bred to their
they
senses
smell
are
it.
all right, are all dedicated
Yeah,
towards fish and like
yeah,
what encompasses like the
hmm,
components of that. So that makes so much sense too.
yeah,
And I feel like it's good to break up that misconception too. I think that people think, oh, I have my period, I can't go
yeah.
swimming in the water, but it's totally different. Like they're not out to get you. They're
No. I
they're
did it
much more
several
interested.
times with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shark around, and yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
they couldn't care less.
Check. That makes it,
Hmm.
I'm sure
Yeah,
that makes other people feel
yeah,
good.
no,
But
absolutely. But yeah, that's a
yeah,
question we get often.
yeah. So how so like also back to like the Galapagos in general, when you're diving, like how far apart are these dive sites, like the one with like all the warm water, and it's a
Hmm.
separate area that you said that the marine iguana dives in
Yes,
because it's a little colder over there?
correct. So they're actually quite far apart. So that's the reason
Mm.
also why you can only reach places like Wolf and Darwin and the other places by a liveaboard, because for our research trip, for example, we're going from port directly up to Darwin, and we usually take a day, 1.5, depending how fast the vessel is. So it's usually navigating with a normal tourist vessel around 24 hours. So
Oh
obviously
wow.
on a tourist trip, you will stop on the way. But if you would go straight up to the northern islands, it's 24 hours sailing, which then obviously makes sense that you cannot offer it as a day trip. And the same
Right.
is on the other side. So in order to get over to the other side where you have the marine iguanas, the molas, and the penguins, northernmost penguin, you have to drive also around 20 hours. maybe a bit less than up in the north, but we would usually, well, no, we do it overnight. I think it's 12 hours, 12 to
Wow.
15 hours. But yeah, the distances are incredible far.
Wow.
Which is the reason you have to do it in liveaboard to really get the experience you're seeking.
Yeah, that's so fascinating and cool too. That
Hmm.
I don't know, like just because I've obviously never been to the Galapagos, but like to hear how far the range is just to even get to a place like
Hmm.
Darwin or the the colder side where the marine iguanas are.
Yeah,
That's so fascinating. Very cool.
it
A lot of
is.
dedication too if you want to get to see
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
But if you do it once, I mean, we have seriously, I mean, I know also that Galapagos is not always the most affordable place. Obviously, the liveaboards, it's a marine park and you have a totally different experience, but it's so worth it, you know. I have so
Yeah.
many divers who come once and say, I know that I spent, all my money right now on it, but I will save every penny that I'm getting in the future to come back as soon as possible because it's just, as I said, it's a piece of ocean that still looks how it should be and how it maybe looked everywhere, years and years ago before we started to destroy it. Because
Yeah.
it's just so healthy. So many animals do not, I would say, do not have the fear because there was never really a too bad interaction with them. So even, I
Right.
mean, in many places, there are no shark feeding, and you can think about it what you want. I'm not personally a big fan of it. And we don't do it in the Galapagos. But, the animals there, they come when they want to interact. So you have a totally different experience when you are not the one, trying to lure them in, when they decide to come to you and, make the interaction. And it's just, yeah, I think Galapagos is one of those places where people want to come back.
Yeah, it's really such a fascinating thing to think about how I don't know, it's cool to be able to think you're stepping back in time, right?
Yeah,
And being
it
able to
is.
see things as it was. And I think that's also for me personally, like that's the coolest thing about like wildlife interaction is, when you're not like necessarily like baiting them and like you just have like a
Hmm.
completely genuine interaction and like they're able to completely be themselves and like you're
Yeah,
being respectful and have that distance, but on their terms they're able to come up to you. I think that's the ultimate magic that exists too, is
yeah,
like to be able to have that um experience where you're coming and you're respecting them and their space and they're able to have a free choice to be able to come and check you out and you
yeah.
get to be there for that. It's, I'm sure, just unbelievable.
It is. I mean, with sharks, usually they're not as afraid. They're often, you have nice interactions. But my personal thing was also to the dolphins. We see them very often on the safety stop. But I never had my camera ready or wasn't ready when they came. So it's really frustrating. We see them, but I do not get any footage. And last year, finally, the first time, I had my GoPro ready and there was so much interaction, but again, on their terms. And I mean, you could hear me, screaming underwater because of joy, because it's just, they came back and back and back and just interacted with the whole group, just had a closer look and went away and came back and just, yeah, as you said, it feels so different when the animal interacts and, you know, wants to check you out, and it's, yeah.
Hi, wild ones. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Find Your Wild podcast. This episode is sponsored by my clothing brand, Femme Sauvage, and you can find a discount code and link in the description. So check it out. We have a lot of amazing designs, and $5 of the proceeds goes to different charities. So please feel free to check it out and enjoy the rest of the episode. Thanks so much. Yeah, it's like the ultimate honor, too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Um, Now, is Galapagos like a harder diving site for people? Like, is that considered like a hard diving site, or does it depend on where you are? Because considering
Mhm.
Galapagos is so big.
To the fact that all the liveaboards are going up to the northern islands, which are very exposed and therefore also exposed to current, you need to be an advanced diver. So sometimes we're going on trips, like, for example, my first trip to the Galapagos Islands, I wasn't very much experienced. I still went. And I had a fantastic trip, no currents, no nothing. But I also were on trips where the current was just howling. And there it's important that you are experienced and confident underwater. It's always
Mm,
hard to put a number on it. In Galapagos, they say you have to be advanced, open water, and you have to have a minimum of 50 dives, because
mm,
then usually divers tend to be more confident. But, I had divers with as little as 4 dives on our private vessels, who did well. And I had divers with 300 who were not well. It depends on your capability underwater, how confident you are in troubleshooting underwater. So when you're going down and you're having currents, how calm are you to handle the situation? Because it's not, hard diving in terms of we go down and we have to fight against the current. That is not
right,
what we're doing. So when we're having current, for example, up in the north, we're going down as a group, and then you're holding on to rocks, basically, and then you watch the hammerheads and sharks streaming by, because as you know, as stronger the current, as more, sharks will come closer because they're just, going against the current slowly, and you get
right,
really good looks. But if you're, for example, a new diver who never experienced currents, you are more nervous underwater. So you, A, probably miss most of what is happening because you're so nervous because of the current or what is happening, because you're not
right,
very good in your buoyancy, etc. So you're then not safe because you're buried and you're, concerned underwater. And that makes it then unsafe for the whole group, because the dive master can not only focus your attention to one diver, it has 7 divers or 8 divers with him. So they
right,
have to see that the whole group is safe. And that's the reason why the limit is more or less at 50, but I always recommend it depends on you, how you feel. If you need to have someone on your hand to take you down, it doesn't matter if you have 300 dives, it's not the right place for you. If you have 40 dives, you're very confident, you can do your safety stop in currents out in the blue without any problems. It might be already fine with 40 dives. But yeah,
right. Yeah, that makes sense. It depends on like the person and like their confidence underwater. I'm
yeah,
sure it depends on the day and like, maybe the current's not so bad or maybe it's
hmm
worse in one day. So that could, I'm sure, affect somebody's, confidence underwater. So,
yeah,
I'm assuming this isn't really a place where you free dive because of all those currents, right?
yeah,
Like you
that's
need a
correct.
scuba dive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are trips for free diving, but they're not as often offered. So there you have to search certain groups because they will go to different places. Because up the north, it would be too strong current. By the time you're down, you're already, drifted miles away. It wouldn't work very well.
Yeah. Yeah. For like safety reasons, that
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. That's very
yeah.
cool.
But no, I
Yeah.
mean, otherwise it is quite a unique place to dive. But it is not something you should do when you're a beginner, because
Right.
I also say it's a lot of money for then not enjoying it. Because if you're new and you're very nervous underwater, you will not enjoy it as much as you when you're confident and you're happy with you underwater, because then you can put your attention out, then you can see what you want to experience. And it's not worth it for yourself, because people always ask me, okay, is it a hard line with 50? It's like, well, it isn't, it isn't. It's more for you as a diver. I'm a confident diver. I love the underwater world and I see it, but it's about you as a person if you will enjoy it safely. Yeah.
Yeah. That's smart, especially if like right, you said it's expensive. Maybe try
Yeah.
a couple of other dive places first that are easier to handle. That way you can focus on learning the
Yeah.
aspects of diving and scuba gear, because I'm sure a lot goes into just learning all of those things and being comfortable with those and the
Yeah.
safety mechanisms of that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, what about so about whale sharks
hmm
and that we don't know that much about them. What do we know and then like what are we trying to learn? Like you said that
hmm
we don't really know where they go as much as when they're migrating, right?
hmm I mean, the list, what we know is quite small. I mean, yes, we know it's a shark. We know a little bit about, their physics and organs, etc. We do know a little bit about that they're deep divers. So there are a couple of videos where they're really vertically diving down. We do know out of our research that they're definitely diving down to 1,900 meters and below. Why they're
Wow.
doing it, we do not know. We know that it is one species. So all the oceans, it is one species with a little bit of variation of the ones in the Atlantic, but otherwise they're all connected in all the oceans. So that means they must meet somewhere to mate, to breathe, etc. Um, We do know that they prefer warmer waters, what is quite nice. So
Yeah.
they're more in the tropical and subtropical waters. Also with climate change, which is a threat, obviously, their habitat is extending, a little bit up to the north and a little bit to the south. For
Mm.
example, it's now very common to see them also in the Azores, which was not very common some years ago. So also their habitat is changing because most of the animals obviously will follow the food, which
Right.
we think is one of the reasons why they do that, but we don't know. The list, what we do not know, however, is quite big. I mean, we do not know where they're made. So there are some videos where in the Atlantic, in Santa Elena, where it looks like they're trying to mate, but we don't know. And it would be only basically for the Atlantic. Where are in the Pacific and in the Pacific? Where do they mate? We don't know. Where did
Yeah.
they give birth? We don't know where the young are born. We don't know how many. So we do know that a whale shark can have up to 300 fetuses in its belly from one
Wow.
single mating, from one single male. But we don't know, do whale sharks give birth to 100? Do they give birth to all the 300? In which depth do they give birth? Because when a little whale shark baby pup comes out, it obviously is vulnerable because it's a little snack for every other shark, coming by. And they obviously are too big to really go into mangroves like other sharks, like the hammerheads. They're hiding usually in mangroves to get protection.
Right.
So where do they give birth? We don't know. We don't know where the young live for the first 5 years. So the neonates, the really small ones, around 60 to 80 centimeters, they are not seen. And I mean, as you
Oh,
know, we're fishing everywhere in the ocean. So we would have bycatch. So where do they give birth? Out of our side, out of the side of most of the sharks to survive? We don't
right.
really know. So the key areas which we still have to discover in order to protect them, we still don't know. And I thought, I mean, I'm now with the Galapagos Whale Shark Project with the research team since 2017. I thought, okay, I mean,
Ah,
you study it, you know the question, and there will be an answer at one point. And, after 8 years, we are a little bit further, but not much. And we did ultrasound underwater with the project to see where they, at least in the body, are. And we still don't know it because they have a skin that can be up to 30 centimeters thick. And most of the ultrasound units, they don't need to penetrate more through. So we don't still know where the babies or the embryos would, or the fetuses would be in the whale shark. So yeah, we are not really much further yet. We do have, however, just last year, we tagged one whale shark and were able to follow her moving away from the Galapagos, and she finally came back. So we did hear from fishermen and from some tourist vessels that we sometimes around February, March have some whale sharks that are coming up in the evening for feeding on the western side of the cold side. And she
mm,
swam back right now, and she's right now in Isabella. And the first time makes basically for us the connection that it might be the same whale sharks that we see up in the north in like June to October that then are down in February, March and actually feeding. And if that is true, then it might be the same animals and maybe to the fact it's nearly all females. So in the Galapagos, you have 95% only adult females coming. And if you have such
mm.
a high percentage of, you know, females, it often has to do something with reproduction. Um,
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
so, but we don't know where, we don't know how, we don't know. Yeah, we still
Right.
need to discover a lot.
Very
But
mysterious whale sharks.
there are. But it's really great to see that it might be really the same aggregation. And there you suddenly see the feeding. So up in the north, when we're doing our research, the mouth is closed. So the whale sharks are filter feeders, so more similar to whales. They're filtering the plankton and little fish and so on through. In the north, when we see them between June and October, they don't feed, at least in the area where we see them. So close to the surface on the first 20 meters, basically, they don't feed.
Huh.
However, in the south, in February and March, the track, you can see they're feeding. All the ships that see the whale sharks in the evening, they're feeding actively. So they're gulping all the water in. And
Mm.
so obviously, they're not up in the north in Darwin to feed. So what they're doing, why are 95% females in a place and
Right.
don't feed? So yeah.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of, right, like it's fascinating because it reminds me of humpback whales when they give birth in one place and then they don't feed, right? Like
Hmm.
they obviously feed their calf, but then they don't feed until they get back to another place. So they like have those
Hmm.
stores. So it's kind of interesting, like another marine animal, obviously different, right? Because it's a
Yeah, yeah,
mammal and it's a whale. But obviously people get confused whale
yeah,
shark,
yeah.
but
No,
yeah.
no.
um how can you tell the difference between a male and a female whale shark?
It's similar like all the elasmobranchs. So by a shark, the female has the pelvic fin and the males have the claspers. So you see
Oh,
it on manta rays, on shark species, it's all the same. So if you see the claspers, you know it's a male. With most of the animals, it's usually very hard to see, so you have to look under. For whale sharks, when they're actually adult, it's easier because the claspers would extend over the pelvic fin, so you would obviously very much see if it's a male or female. But yeah, that's basically on all the sharks and rays.
got it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting, right? Like, I guess, like, as someone that is not so much like with scientific knowledge, I just know like a couple of things here and there, but
Hmm.
um I'm sure it's so interesting, this mystery of where they give birth, right? And wondering if maybe it is around the Galapagos, but like they
Hmm.
wouldn't, I don't know. It's like, to me, I guess I wouldn't think that they would give birth in open ocean with, you know,
So many sharks
I don't,
around.
yeah, like
Yeah.
because, right, like because they're vulnerable, like you said, like they're younger, so like you want to try to give your young like the best
Hmm.
option. So it is like such an interesting mystery of where they
Yeah.
would find that's like a safe place for them,
Yeah.
or like to
But I
give
mean,
birth. Yeah.
question is if the open ocean is a safe place with all the fisheries around where we're trawling, for shrimp and everything and taking the whole basically ocean
Mhm.
floor out. So I don't know if it's really more safe to do it on open ocean. However, I mean, what a possibility could be, and we would love to prove it somehow, is that we assume that where sharks might go a little bit deeper out of the range where most of the shark species are, so usually below 200 meters, where not many shark species are going, and they giving birth to their young there. And with the whale shark, you see the belly is very wide, and the family where the whale shark is in are more similar to carpet sharks. Like, not sure if you know the wobbegong from Indonesia, for example. That's the shark that lives on the bottom and basically feeds opportunistic. So if something comes by, it would go out and get it. And maybe the whale sharks, has kind of a drawback behavior and maybe is like this the first couple of years until it has their, reserves in terms of fat and can protect itself. So that could
Right.
be a possibility. And I do also think that the reason why there are so many, like 300 features, is obviously because not all of them will survive. Um,
Right.
so there will be, a lot of whale sharks that won't survive, but the ones that are surviving, I could imagine that it is like that. But
Yeah.
it's hard to prove because we don't know where and we don't know where to look. So I know that one of our researchers, so Jonathan, did had the pleasure in I believe 2017 or 2016 to go down with the BBC with the submarine. And actually we're
Mhm.
looking around Darwin because you have different kind of platforms going down. So it's not straight down. You have different platforms where you could use it, but they
Mhm.
didn't find it. They went down, I think, twice or so. But I mean, it's like, looking for the needle in the haystack, right? So
Right.
where do you start looking? And yeah, we would love to do more of those research, but obviously you can imagine how much funding you would need to get a submarine and to get a submarine
Right.
constantly down and to look, because it will be in places where we as humans can't dive to, because everywhere where we can dive, most of the sharks will be around. And I don't think they will give birth there because it would be, as I said, just a delicious snack on the way for every other shark species.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really fascinating.
it is.
To be able to, I don't know, have the idea of that, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you said we don't know, that there's up to 300 fetuses. Do we know if they're I'm assuming they're eggs or
They are first in a like a yolk sac. But
Mhm.
before they give birth, they would be out of the sac, so they're giving birth to young life. So they're
Oh, okay.
ovoviviparous. So first yolk sac and then alive.
That's very
They're
cool.
also in different stages. So we only know that because in Taiwan, oh my gosh, 1996 or so, I can't remember the exact year, they caught a female whale shark, which died unfortunately, but she was pregnant, and the fisherman was so kind to invite scientists in. So they opened her up and then found 304 fetuses. They found different stages of development of the sharks, which is not uncommon. So a lot of shark species do that. Um, and I believe it were like 3 or 4 were already alive. So they took those in the aquarium, try to, to give them, the chance to survive. But I think none of them really survived for very long.
Yeah.
But yeah, so different stages we know, 300 features we know, but yeah.
But yeah, that's the gist of it. That's so interesting though. Yeah, I'm like hopefully you get the answer soon, right? Because that's always
I
like the
know
hardest thing. Yeah.
it is. Yeah, right now we are really struggling with the ultrasound, because we would love to have an ultrasound unit that is stronger to actually penetrate through. But there's no company out really that does ultrasounds that are stronger because, as you can imagine, there's no other use. Not even for, an elephant or a cow, you need something strong like that because they don't have that thick skin, so it's not really
Right.
needed. And then to get an ultrasound unit into a housing that you actually can take underwater, because we obviously don't capture the whale shark. We just do it while it's swimming by. Um,
Right.
so yeah, that is right now when we would have a solution for that and would get a lot of funding to actually develop something like this, or a company. I mean, if you have friends or anyone that's listening to it and, is active in the ultrasound, or medical equipment, area and can get their
Any
department,
ideas?
yeah,
Yeah.
to get something stronger than 30 centimeters penetration, that would be incredible. But most of those would be huge units, which you then can't take underwater. So it's like
I know it's like catch
Mhm.
22 with all of those things,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Wow, the
But
whale
yeah, you
shark,
never
so
know.
interesting. Yeah, you
Yeah,
never know, right? With technology and
I know.
what they can do. So yeah, that's really fascinating. Um, that's really cool. What would you say, just I guess like as we're, getting towards the end, what's been some of your like I'm sure it's probably hard, but like what have been some of your most like impactful dives encounters that you've had
Mhm.
um while doing all of this in your life?
Oof, that's a good question. I mean, there were a lot. I mean, there
Yeah.
were, yeah, I think the first one was definitely with a whale shark. When we did our
Yeah,
first, I think when I was there the first time as normal diver tourist, it was just so overwhelming that I actually couldn't take everything in because there was so much to see. And
right,
second time when I went down with a research team, we obviously very much focused on whale sharks. And so it's everyone from us has a task. And my task, the first trip was not very much. I just had to take photo ID. So not a big thing. And we shaking when we see them, and then all the scientists basically rushing to the whale shark because even it doesn't look very fast, it's incredible fast. So you have to think quite hard to get to it.
right.
And the scientists were shaking and shaking. I said, what's where do you go? I don't see where you're swimming to, because often you don't see them before it's there. So I turn around and the whale shark came basically behind me. And when I turned around, I was just eye to eye with her. And it just
Wow.
was like the most majestic feeling when she swam by. It's like I forgot everything. Like camera, photo ID, forget about it. It was like wow, just these, the vibration, the feeling that an animal like this of that size. I mean, she was 12 meters, and she just slowly, graceful swam by, and was just. I mean, if I haven't been in love with bush sharks by then, I was just,
Oh,
mesmerized. I think that was one of those moments where you think so. I mean, how can we still destroy the oceans when we have things like this? Then, I mean,
yeah.
it's so worth fighting for it. And I'm sometimes getting upset about all the, things that don't go well, why we don't protect the oceans as good. And then I'm thinking back on moments like this, and I know it's really worth, fighting for it. But yeah, I think that was one of my highlights. Besides
Oh,
all the others. I
absolutely.
mean, the sharks in general is beautiful. And as I said last year, I think that was one of my best encounters with hammerheads, where usually when we're swimming out towards the school, they usually disappear because they're more afraid of you. And last year, the first time, they allowed you to be within the school. And we were a very, very small group that stayed down because we had a little bit of more air left. And we were just like 3 or 4 people, and they were just surrounding us, and they were so relaxed just around us. It was, yeah, to be accepted within the school to be a shark as well is very nice too.
What a really cool experience and
hmm
magical, like just to have that. It's so amazing. And whale sharks too are just so beautiful. Like they're kind of like
Yeah,
the gentle giants of the
yeah,
sea, right?
the cuddly
Um
shark.
yeah, and
It
their
is.
pattern is so beautiful
hmm
and unique and really cool. So yeah, I love
Yeah,
whale sharks. I feel like they're really cool. I love that you had that amazing experience with them. Um
thank you.
yeah, I hope to, fingers crossed, see it when I go to Mexico, but
Yeah, yeah, no, you
I'll just
will.
be excited to see whatever, you know?
Yeah, yeah, the oceans in Mexico are still beautiful. So, no, it will be a good
Exactly.
experience.
Yeah, and I have a 3-year-old at home, so I'm excited to just have a little
Oh, okay,
vacation.
okay, I can imagine too. I can
Yeah,
imagine.
exactly. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to explore the ocean more. It's funny, as I grow older, I was definitely much more frightened of sharks. I think that
Okay,
obviously movies did a really
yeah,
great job impacting me, but it's really great the more that and that's why I think it's so important, like, people online like showing,
hmm
them swimming with them, and and you telling your story about how like it's really hard to even swim with hammerheads because they usually
yeah,
just swim off. Like not they're not what you think they are. They don't care
no,
about if you cut yourself or anything like
yeah.
that. So I don't know, I just have like a totally whole new appreciation for them too. So
That's good.
yeah.
No, it's worth it. And I know all the movies, especially, Jaws, which I didn't know has 50th anniversary this year.
Oh wow.
They really felt sorry afterwards. So the person that wrote the book itself, basically after he published every year, he was, putting much effort in shark conservation, and they're also highlighting this year a lot of shark conservation projects. So they're trying really hard to, change the
Reverse that. Yeah.
conception that they did with Jaws. So it's very interesting. And yeah, we do need a balance. We do need whales as much as we need sharks, as much we need all the, connection. And I mean, I just was reading yesterday the article about whale poop, how important it is because
Yeah.
yeah, but we were talking about the krill and how plankton, and it's all interconnected. That what the one gives away as a poop, is taken from other animals to feed on. And actually, we do assume it's a little bit similar with the whale shark because it is the same basically poop that comes out, which obviously also fertilizes a lot of areas, especially in the open ocean, which are kind of more deserts. You don't have as much to then give a base and nutrients for plankton and krill and other species to thrive, which then is the food source for so many other species again. And so yeah, it's all connected. So we do need sharks as much as we need all the other marine wildlife that we do have. Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps, right? Like the ocean, I think, I mean, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's like the ocean is one of our biggest like carbon
Yes.
like it helps
Absorber.
like
hmm
absorb carbon, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
absorbs carbon and it produces 50 to 80% of the oxygen that we all breathe every day. So yes, it
Wow.
is important to save the forest. And as you can see, I'm very much a green person as well, but it's
Yeah.
it's even more important we protecting our oceans and we stop, polluting it with plastic and all the things. And we often have the discussion with sustainable fish, for example. I mean, also the Galapagos is a marine reserve. We still have issues, and
Right.
just beginning of this year, no, not beginning, well, yeah, beginning and end of last year, I was in the Falkland
Right.
Islands, where they're suddenly talking about salmon farming, in an environment where the ocean is so important for all the seabirds, all the wildlife, underwater as well as above. And then you want to put tanks with all the, antibiotics and stuff like that in it, where you destroy again everything. So I just, I
Yeah.
get sometimes frustrated how we humans can't stop to destroy. Because on the other hand, the success with whales, the time we stop killing, it suddenly recovers. I mean, in Antarctica, I think this year I never saw so many whales. They're coming back in so high numbers. So the humpbacks are just insane at the moment. And it's just
Right.
beautiful to see that if we stop killing, we can let them come back. And I hope with sharks it will be the same, that at one point we stop killing them and we're getting in a better balance within the oceans again, because we will need it.
Yeah, and sharks are keystone species. I love that sharks are older than trees, which is
Yes.
I also find that super fascinating,
Mhm.
especially when you think about especially what we just talked about, how the ocean is one of the or is the biggest carbon absorber, even more so than trees that we think.
Yeah.
Obviously trees are of course important,
Yeah.
but why we need to also really focus on our oceans as that aspect as well. And sharks are again a keystone species. It really reminds me of wolves and their
Yeah.
importance in the ecological in like their frame of where they are too, and how if we don't have those species to kill
Yeah.
off the sick and the sick fish, the sick elk, all
Yeah.
of those things. People don't understand that affects like for wolves, it could even affect things like the soil,
Yeah.
like the sharks, like you said, how interconnected, even when they're pooping, they
Yeah.
really give back
Yeah, they do.
to the
Yeah.
environment. So how interconnected. And I always say too that people that I think sometimes maybe like they're spiritual, and like how I really love that picture where it's like ego versus eco, where it's like,
Mhm.
this viewpoint of how some people are like, oh, well, all these animals are here just for us. But I think that, I don't know. I just personally think that taking care of the environment is like an innately spiritual thing.
Yeah.
Um, and to be able to not think so high, like I don't know, like not
Yeah.
be so egotistical and just take care of like the innocence in our planet. Like we only have one home. So
Yes, that's
I
true.
agree, it's really important to notice how interconnected we all are.
No,
Yeah.
we are. No, couldn't agree more with you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Jenny, I think that's a great place to stop today. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for making the time to
Of course.
come on. And how can people reach you, connect with you, if they want to do that?
The easiest is usually via email or WhatsApp. So it would be either internet, www.galapagossharkdiving.com, or the email address info@galapagossharkdiving.com. So that's the easiest to reach me with any question, if it's about sharks, if it's about whale sharks, about diving. So yeah, um, definitely reach out. Or just, how to get involved with conservation, how is it to do the first step? Because I think that is often the hardest one, to just make the first step and, to look around what is close around me. Where can I get, engaged with and can do something good?
Yeah, like even just doing like a little beach cleanup or something.
Yeah.
I'm definitely have the idea to do that when it gets a little warmer up by me. So yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for making the time to come
No
on. I'll
worries.
make sure to link all of those things in the description below so it's easier for people to connect with you. But thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much, Wild Ones, for listening. And we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Revel in the moment like a river flowing to the sea. I feel the energy of life force flowing all through through me. And I'll allow it all to dance with my body and play. And no one could ever convince me to give my power away. 'Cause the motion